So this video will be explaining some of the important ideas behind the unit circle that may be useful in a calculus class or other classes where the unit circle may need to be applied. So to begin, we're going to define what the unit circle is. The unit circle is a circle with radius 1, center at the origin. So has a center of 0, 0, and the length from the origin to any point around the circle is going to be 1. And naturally, plugging in our radius into the formula 2 pi times radius to find the circumference, we get 2 pi. So, when we are told to find the values at a certain point on the unit circle, we know that taking the cosine of the angle, in this case I have pi over 4 marked here, that's going to give us our x value. On the other hand, we take the sine of the value and we get the y value. In this case, they're both the same, but this holds true for any other point on the unit circle. Now, most people that are somewhat familiar with the unit circle probably know that taking the cosine of the angle gives you the x value, and taking the sine of the angle gives you the y value. But a lot of people might not understand why. This is from the fact that the unit circle has a radius of 1. So the length from any point from the center to the edge of the unit circle is going to be 1, no matter where you draw a line at. So from here to here, 1. From here to here, 1. We draw another line from here to here. This is going to be 1 no matter what, because the radius is going to stay constant. And when you're taking the sine or cosine of an angle, but that goes back to so to, where sine of an angle is going to equal opposite over hypotenuse, cosine of an angle equals adjacent over hypotenuse, and while we're not going to be using it in this, tangent of an angle is opposite over adjacent. So, since the length from the center to any point on the edge of the circle is 1, the hypotenuse of any right triangle that you draw with an angle, as you can see I drew a right triangle, the hypotenuse is always going to be 1, because the line from the center to the edge is always going to be 1 no matter what. Since the hypotenuse is always equal to 1, then taking the sine of an angle is going to be opposite over hypotenuse, which is 1, and the sine of an angle is just going to be equal to the side opposite the angle. Same thing with cosine, except it's going to be equal to the sine adjacent to the angle. So, thinking about this, sine of the angle is going to be opposite of the angle. It's going to be right here. That's going to be your y distance. And that's why you get the y value by taking the sine of this angle. And with cosine, it's the side adjacent. So right here, that's going to give you the x value. And something else that might be interesting to know is if you take that right triangle, imagine we're still in the unit circle here. Like I mentioned, you know your y is sine of x. Your x is equal to cosine of x. Think about the Pythagorean theorem. This here, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where c squared is your hypotenuse, which equals 1. If this looks familiar, that's because this is a very important trig identity. This is coming from, it's a triangle. One side squared plus the other side squared gives you your hypotenuse squared. And in this case, that's 1. So that's where this trig identity comes from. So yeah, that should summarize most of the points I wanted to summarize here. And hopefully this clears up some things if you were a little bit confused.